Hey everybody, welcome back and welcome to Sim Update 3 Beta version 1.5.19. I just joined today. This is the second flight I've done in the beta, and I mentioned this in the driver video yesterday that I released, that they've made a change to how quickly the physical movements of your controls are translated into the movement of the controls in the sim. So there's always been a bit of a delay between your actual movement of your physical controls, like your honeycomb, whatever you have, and those effects taking place in the sim. This is one of the things they have addressed in Sim Update 3. I cannot begin to tell you what a difference it makes. Let's get going, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So let's go, first of all, let's get ourselves set here. Let's go rotating beacon on. We'll go mixture and prop full forward. In this airplane, you have to do the prop or the mixture again. Little bug in the Dakota. All right, fuel valve is open. Let's crack the throttles. Master and battery switches on, toes on the brakes. Make sure there's nobody outside to kill or maim. And the other thing we have to do is make sure that we start the engine with the, I don't know why my Bravo won't start with the key, but it won't. So avionics master coming on. Go nav and strobe lights coming on. Transponder going to standby. We'll lean the mixture. We'll bring the power back here a little bit. And so what I'm talking about is when you move the physical controls in the sim, there's always been a slight delay, and you might not even notice it really, but I cannot tell you, I can't tell you what a difference this has made. I would go so far as to say that this is, in terms of flight controls, the biggest change I've seen in flight simulation since I've used it, going back to FS98. The feel that you now get in the airplane is absolutely remarkable, and I was only tuned into this in terms of how it would affect trimming out in cruise, because anytime you've watched any of my videos, I talk about it quite often actually, that it takes a week and a half to trim the airplane in cruise flight. It takes forever, and in real life it takes no time at all. It takes 10 seconds, that for a large trim input. It's so easy. We're gonna go landing light on because we're entering an active runway. I'm gonna back taxi just a little bit so we can have a little bit more runway room. And the one thing they haven't fixed, of course, is buses and trucks and everything else on Earth driving down the center of the runway. But we'll go one step at a time here. So I was always kind of tuned into that irritation of trimming out in cruise, and I figured that the flight controls, the inputs would be better with this new change, and that would make an improvement to the actual flying experience itself as well. Let me tell you this, I vastly underestimated what a difference this would make. So I told you this is my second flight in the beta. I literally joined an hour and a half ago. And we'll go mixture and prop full forward. We'll go fuel pump on. Flaps are set. Trim is good. Let's get on center line. Heading indicator checks. And we'll go takeoff power set. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed is alive. And there is now just an absolutely instantaneous reaction to anything you do, any sort of flight control input you make. And the 4 landings that I've made in the sim prior to this flight, the 4 landings I've made in Sim Update 3 beta, rather, have been, I would say, the 4 best landings I have made in Microsoft Flight Simulator since 2020 came out. Of course, we're in 2024 right now, and the flight model is way better in Flight Sim 24. I'm gonna go to 1,000 feet, so we'll stop at 1,000 feet, and I can show you how quickly we can trim the airplane out. We'll come back to about 23 on the power, bring back a little bit on the prop, get ourselves leveled out here, and let me see. Of course, that's gonna be funny if I'm actually perfectly trimmed to begin with, which I won't be. Well, I pretty much am. But let me just get that 100-foot. There's a little bit of a descent there. This is more of what I expect. A little bit of a climb. We'll just push that nose down a little bit, roll in just a hair of trim using my Honeycomb Bravo trim wheel. And ladies and gentlemen, we are in trimmed cruise flight. It's gonna be might take a little bit to fine tune it. Nope, not even gonna touch it. Just wait and see. But even just the inputs of the elevator and the aileron are just instantaneous, and I've actually taken. I had a 0.04 dead zone for the elevator and the trim, the elevator and the ailerons, and I've actually taken some of that out now. I'm down to 0.02 because the controls are so precise. Now I want that fine control tuning. I want that available now. And I mean, prior to Sim Update 3, prior to being in the beta, I'd still be trimming this airplane right now. I'm fine tuning it here and there, but I'm not like actively I'm not out of trim to the point where I need to be constantly making control inputs, elevator inputs, and retrimming to try to keep the plane within 500 feet of the altitude that I want. I mean, it's just it's uncanny how good it is. And like I said, I only thought of it in terms of cruise trim and being able to trim the plane out. But the reality is that you now have super fine-tuned, precise control of the airplane. In particular, in the flare is where it's really noticeable. Round out and the flare, I'd say, actually. And the difference in the overall experience of flying the airplane is astonishing. And what's odd to me is that not only has I haven't seen any other content creators talking about this. And maybe if they're just all flying, jets and using autopilots, they won't notice the difference. To me, the difference is enormous. I mean, it's absolutely enormous. And the feel in the controls is incredible. And it works both in the... So I've got the Honeycomb Alpha and Honeycomb Bravo. I'm gonna start slowing down here. I'm gonna come all the way back to about 15 in the power. And we'll come back to 2,300 on the RPM. We are not going to go into 1,000 foot per minute dive. But watch this. I'll pull us up to level flight. Put in some trim. Voilard, ladies and gentlemen. I just put in one big trim application. I can put it, and now it's going to settle a little bit, and I'll put in some more. But it's it's like a different sim. I mean, it really is. Check final. Fuel pump is on because I left it on. It's a neat trick, right? We'll notch the flaps. We'll go second notch of flaps. So so I did one landing over here at St. Martin, and then I went and did a touch and go, did a second landing. On the second landing, the touchdown was so smooth that I was holding the nose off and hearing the stall horn. I didn't even know whether I touched down or not. So I'm just pulling a little bit of nose up just to get that back to 85 and just rolling in a hair trim. And so I had to turn FS Realistic on so I could hear the squeak of the wheels. But what I was saying before is that, so with the Honeycomb Alpha, you've got the electric trim buttons on the yoke, and you've also, and with the Bravo, you've also got the trim wheel. And this, you know, new updated sensitivity of the controls works for both of them. So I can use either one, which in real life is the same thing. I mean, I have an electric trim in my Cherokee, and so sometimes I'll use that, but you can also reach down and actually use the physical trim too if you want to. The wheel. So, but I'm not making control movements now and then waiting for anything to happen and react, because what happens is you get out of sync. You get out of sync between your physical movements and what's happening in the plane, and it's very, very difficult to control, and I don't think we really realize it. I mean, I can see it now even just looking at the yoke in front of me. Power way out now. Just keep coming down. Here's that 75. Start rounding it out. Power all the way out. And now instead of being out of phase with what my controls are doing, look at that. I mean, you just, it is unbelievable. Go flaps down, fuel pump is on, mixture. I've forgotten to put the props forward for 5 landings now this morning. Good morning, Mike. All right, takeoff power is coming in. Engine instruments are in the green, airspeed's alive. There's 70 knots. And so I don't think I realized how much, like, even just that little delay in the reaction makes such a big difference in terms of how controllable the airplane is in the sim. And we'll head again for 1,000 feet. We're gonna head there pretty quickly from the looks of things. The nose down a little bit. And we'll start coming back on the power. We'll come back to 23. And that's it. I mean, it's going to come down a little. I overshot by 100 feet, so I'm going to let it come down to 1,000. And it might wind up being perfect. I don't think so, because our speed isn't there yet. So then we'll get the nose down just a hint. A little bit of trim, nose down again. It's just, it's done. It's done, we're there. Like, the difference is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, I mean, for those of you who are GA enthusiasts, I think you're going to be truly astounded. You're going to be more astounded when I turn my fuel pump off. The pressure's good. But I can't even tell you what a difference this makes, and I'm shocked that nobody else has talked about it. I really am. I haven't heard anybody even mention that this was a thing in 2024 in the Sim Update 3 beta, and it's clearly, I mean, it's right in the notes. And like nobody said a word about it. And to me, you know, the performance seems fine. I mean, I haven't really gotten into that part of it yet. Go fuel pump on. Performance seems fine. But I can't believe that even if this weren't like advertised, that nobody would notice it. I cannot believe that this hasn't been a point of discussion over notch of flaps. And that's now 5 landings that I've made in the beta. And I mean, they have all been like greasers. Every single one of them. Okay. Coming down over sandy ground here. Take a look down there. We might see Muddy's Pride moored at the cargo dock. You never know. You can see this road right out ahead of me here. And then they like to fly right down that road. Alright, let's get into the White Arc. I went, so this is where they used to literally dig sand out of that pond. That's what the industry was in Anguilla for many, many years, decades. And I went out there and did that. I think it was 2019, just to see what it was like. And boy, what a brutal existence. But that's what they did. So there's 80 knots. Right on glide path, but we're not going to stay there without a little bit of power here. Alright. All right, fuel pumps on, flaps are set, mixture and prop full forward, seatbelts are secure, gear is down and welded. Pre-landing checklist is complete. Power's coming out here. All right, power's all the way out. That was the worst of the 6 landings that I've made in the beta. And if that's the worst of the 6, boy oh boy. In the mixture. And the reason that landing stunk is because I had too much energy. I mean, it didn't stink, it was perfectly serviceable, but compared to the last 5 that I absolutely greased on, so the difference in this beta in the controls and the control sensitivity is I can't even. We'll park right over here. I was gonna go over to the other side, but we'll park here. It's astonishing. You are not gonna believe how much better the controls are. And I mean, now you can really start. I never felt like I could. Mixture idle, cut off, throttles idle, set the parking brake, flaps are up, lights coming off, avionics master off before the mags. Master and battery switches off. I never had the feeling that I never had a feel for landings in the sim. Never. I mean, I would have some good landings, had a lot of mediocre landings, but I never felt like I had a feel for what the airplane was doing and for where it was in space, if that makes any sense. And the reason is because I was always like, you know, a split second out of phase between my control inputs and the, you know, the effect on the airplane in the sim. And now it's virtually instantaneous, and you actually have fine-tuned control over the aircraft in the sim. The change is monumental, in my opinion. I don't care what the performance improvements, the VRAM, the this, the that, this improvement right here is perhaps the biggest improvement, the biggest single improvement I have seen in flight sim since I've started in flight sim. It is that mind-boggling to me. It is so good. Cannot wait for you guys to get this. Glad I joined the beta. This was a hoot. So I look forward to any questions, comments you guys have in the comments section below. And in the meantime, have a great day, and we'll talk soon.